People on the Block is all about people working and the work they do.
Hi guys, welcome to People on the Block and today's episode. Excuse myself, excusez-moi, I have to get my shabu for my fall season. It's already here, the weather has changed, I'm so craving for it. I'm in Houston today, so I'm gonna excuse myself to go. So I'm gonna let David be the host today with Mr. Smith, or Smithy, the Colonel of the Marine. He has been serving for 30 years in the Marine. All right.
All right, well, welcome to People on the Block. Normally you would hear from Mimi, but I decided that since Shabu was having a sale, I'll let her go eat her Asian food, and I'll interview a Marine, which is what I wanted to do. So we're talking today with Colonel Smitty. Smitty, I prefer to call you Colonel if you don't mind. I think it's a great title. So I'd like to start with the first question. Smitty, could you tell me a little bit about your background leading into how you were compelled to join the Marine Corps?
Well, compelled is a strong word. But I grew up in the southern part of Houston, went to high school here, and after graduation attended the University of Texas at Austin. And while I was there, at the time I had a low draft number. So I was concerned about being pulled out of college. So what I did was I joined ROTC, the Naval ROTC. And as a Navy midshipman. And I became a Marine option student my second year because I was helped by Marines. And then after that, in my junior year, I went to Officer Candidate School. And when I came back from that, I had an option to quit the Naval ROTC and continue my studies. The draft had ended, or continue on and become a commissioned officer on graduation. And I told my father I was going to become a Marine officer, and he was kind of shocked because that was not my intent. So I ended up graduating on time on the 18th of May, 1974, and went to Quantico, Virginia for a commission as second lieutenant, went to Quantico, Virginia, and attended the basic school for 6 months. Mm. And following that, I was designated an infantry officer, and I was sent to 3rd Marine Division in Okinawa, and was assigned to the 2nd Battalion of the 9th Marines. And as luck would have it, I ended up in the last combat unit of the war, 15 days after the fall of Saigon. So
was this in 75?
It was in 1975. I just turned 23, and I was leading a platoon of Marines, rifle platoon, and so my career started out pretty fast. But that's how I got in the Corps. It was really just a fluke, and I was inspired by several people. Gunnery Sergeant Hitchens, who was the assistant Marine officer instructor at the University of Texas, and Major Joe Molyneux, who was the Marine officer instructor. And so I was inspired by a couple of folks that really were unbelievable personalities and leaders. Mm. So that's how I ended up in the Corps.
Colonel, what was the most important lesson you think you learned in the Marine Corps overall?
The most important thing that I learned is that leadership matters. People have to be in charge. But the leader has to have integrity to do the right thing. And sometimes the right thing is hard. So the leader has to push himself and his Marines to get hard things done. And you have to be mission focused to get it done. But your people are the number one thing you need to get the mission done. So it's mission first, people always, but it's the leadership aspects of doing that. Without that, nothing happens. And there's a big difference between leadership and management. You lead people, you manage things and processes. They're not the same thing. So that's what you have to do. You have to lead. And I saw that over and over again after I left the Marine Corps as well, after I had started my second career. So that's the salient thing, I think, that you have to remember.
Colonel, what aspects of the Marine Corps and consulting appealed the most to you? They kind of had a lot of cross-pollinating to it.
Well, after I completed my 30 years as a Marine, I took a second job, and I worked for a company that was actually set up by the U.S. government to provide consulting assistance to the U.S. government and foreign governments. And I did both, initially with the U.S. government, then with foreign governments and the State Department, who I worked with. So I had several assignments at high-level staff at the Pentagon and some other things that I did, and the problems are very complex. So you have to solve these complex problems. And what you're trying to do is not to optimize the question. You're trying to minimize the negative, because there are no good answers to some of these problems. There's just less bad answers.
Mm-hmm.
It's very complex stuff. So while you're in the Pentagon, you have to work with that. Plus you have to work with resources, because you've got to get money to do things. So there's a push there to do that. Very complex. In the business world, it's pretty much the same. In the consulting, it's government consulting work. You have to work with I work with the senior levels of government and ministerial level. And those are complex problems as well. So I think the thing that's the same is the complex problems. And with that, you need practical, doable, feasible solutions. You can't do pie in the sky, stuff. You got to do stuff that works, and you got to work practical solutions. Sometimes you don't need a dreamer and a schemer. You just need some common sense, figure out what works, and then do that.
And when we spoke before over the phone, you had said too that something to the effect of what I've been told from other Marines, which is if you can't do it, we'll get someone else who can. Do you find that's very similar in the corporate world as well?
Yes. If you need a mess kit repairman, okay, you can find one. And that's the one that you can solve that problem. And we have different military occupational specialists across the Marine Corps and other services that can solve all kinds of problems. Okay, in a joint environment, you can find somebody in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or Space Force to solve a big problem. In the corporate world, it works the same way. You have people with all kinds of backgrounds and so forth. But it's the integration of the problem that's challenged, because it's not only the computer guy, it's the guy that's working the business side of things. It's the guy working the problem itself. And then if you're working with a foreign government especially, you've got all the cultural aspects of that. So it's very complex. And so that you need practical things. Don't get ahead of your skis.
Colonel, what elements do you think make up a strong leader?
Well, the number one thing is integrity. You have to have integrity. And that includes living your core values. Marine Corps core values are honor, courage, and commitment. And you must live your core values, first of all, and have integrity as a leader. Do the right thing, the right way. And then, of course, you need to set the example. Okay? You've got to be able to set the example to lead. And then the third thing, I think, is to be technically and tactically proficient in what you're doing. You need to know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing, and you can lead people and motivate them, but you don't have integrity, you can lead people to do the wrong thing. So you always hear people talk about, people were strong leaders when they were evil. Well, they're not. They're strong, but they're not good leaders. And your question was, what makes a good leader? Okay, not a strong leader. So this is there's a difference. And integrity is the point that separates those two things.
And when it comes to military or the civilian life, as you said, it can lead you in completely different directions, for better or worse. if you're not focused on the good.
Yeah, I mean, but you have different motivations in business. The business is a for-profit or a non-profit entity, like I work with non-profits now. You have to do the things that you're chartered to do, and you must make money or you'll go out of business. The Marine Corps is a mission-focused organization. You have to accomplish the mission. Sometimes those missions could be training, sometimes they could be operational and combat, they could be anything. But whatever it is, you need to accomplish that to the best of your ability in both worlds. So it's the mission-focused, mission accomplishment mindset that makes you successful on both sides.
Do you think that a leader, regardless of military or civilian life, sometimes has to make decisions that he feels might go against superiors or, for lack of a better term, the greater good, where he feels in that moment, or she, that has to be done that way? And it could be questioned later on, but they feel that is the best course of action they have to take.
Well, one of your leadership principles is decisiveness. Okay? And as we used to say, an 80% solution violently executed trumps perfection, the perfect plan. So you can plan and plan and plan and never get there. At some point, you have to pull the trigger and move out. So the whole thing is sometimes you have to make a call, and your judgment in that is based on your experience, your training, and your education to try to do the right thing for that situation. And sometimes you might blow it, right? And it's up to your seniors to protect you, to allow you to grow, and when you make a mistake, to learn from that and go on. Unless it's catastrophic, then you should be removed in charge. So that's part of it.
Colonel, how have you taken on challenges and difficulties in your organization, both in military life and civilian?
Well, the thing that tenacity trumps a lot of things. And so sometimes you just have to dig in and work it out and put sweat in it. There's, perspiration can trump education. You just outwork the problem. So that's part of it. The other thing is, like we talked about, decision making. You don't work on the order that you're given. You work on the intent of what the people above you want. Because the situation may change in front of you. But if you know their intent or what they're trying to do, you can adjust and change. So the Marine Corps is taught mission-type orders with the commander's intent. So it isn't that you're guarding the bridge, it's that you're trying to prevent someone from getting across the river. So if you just stay at the bridge when they're crossing downstream, that would be dumb.
Right.
So you have to sometimes disobey orders in order to meet the intent. So this intent standard is very, very important. So you always got to ask why. Why are we trying to do this? And that means the commander above you has to think it through. What are we trying to accomplish? And then he may give an order based on the current situation, but as the situation changes, you have to adapt and overcome and improvise.
And is that how, when I've heard before, because we took some questions before we conducted this interview today, that there are sometimes situations where your commanding officer may not know that the situation has changed, but he has every bit of confidence in you to take care of the situation, as they say, an ever-changing situation on the ground.
In the warrant, when you're promoted, it says, reposing special trust and confidence in the fidelities and abilities of. Well, special trust and confidence means that he has that in you to do what you have to do. So it's very important that you know but he gave the order above you to do something based on the situation as he understood it. If I run into a situation and have to make a decision and I delay, I call back to him to get additional guidance instead of acting. Well, during that delay, the situation has changed again. So then he tells me again what to do, and then the situation has changed, and that's not the right decision. So I have to understand what he's trying to do and make the decision so I decide faster than the other person can react. And this decision cycle is in business as well. It's like how people don't react to things that are changing. Okay, and famously Kodak went out of business because of all the digital camera. But the person who invented the digital camera worked for Kodak in their research and development. Well, how come they didn't see that coming? Right? So you have to be intellectually honest with yourself when changes occur. Change is the most important thing, adapting to change. And when it occurs, you improvise, adapt, and overcome the situation. That is the key. Okay? Make stuff up.
Right.
And then do it.
Colonel, I came upon this quote before I showed up today, and I really wanted to ask you about it because I've actually never heard it in the Marine Corps, but it said the phrase, improvise, adapt, and overcome. Why does the Marine Corps use that?
Well, the first thing is it's drilled into you. Okay? Especially for the non-commissioned officers, the sergeants, staff NCOs, and the officers. Combat is a fluid situation, and the enemy gets a vote. Okay, so when he says, "What are we going to do?" then the question has to be, "What are they going to do?"
Right.
So you have to adapt everything. You're taught to adapt to the situation, and as they change, we change, and whatever it is, and you can be devious at this, which is not bad. But if you are static and you are just walking in lines and you don't adapt, then you end up losing a lot of people and you don't accomplish the mission in the long run. Now you can overwhelm somebody with a lot of force, okay, but that's not the best use of forces. The Marine Corps is a small force. There's not that many Marines when you look at it in big. So we have to use smart tactics and use our people to the best of their ability. So the question is, how do you do that? And so that's why you improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Is that one of the reasons why, Colonel, my father used to explain this to me, but he said, if you ever saw the film from 1987, Full Metal Jacket, they're going into the field and they're trying to take out a sniper. And the sniper picks off just about every commanding officer until finally it gets to the gentleman named Cowboy. And I asked my father about this. He goes, because in the Marine Corps you're taught when someone goes down, you have to step up. And I just wondered if you felt in organizations that's a good way to handle things in the corporate world, which is teaching your employees underneath you kind of how to step up to the rise of the occasion. Or if that really is more exclusive to the Marine Corps, because that seems so unique to the Marine Corps.
Well, this is a really good point. And I have seen some organizations, civilian organizations, that I consider first class in training and education and operational matters. And number one that I would list would be the New York City Police Department, top of the line. I worked with them after 9/11. I went up there and I talked with them and several other occasions. I had the honor to see them work, and they got it. I'm telling you, they're really, really sharp. The fire department's pretty good too. But it's part of it. Part of it is the ability of the Marine Corps to take a smaller force and accomplish big things. The Marine Corps is not designed to win wars. Okay, the Marine Corps does not win wars. Okay, the Marine Corps wins battles, and they got to be ready to win the first one at all times, ready to go. That's their job. If you want to win the war, you got to bring in the Army, you got to bring in the Navy and the Air Force, land, sea, and air forces that are designed specifically to control that. The Marine Corps doesn't do any of that. But we have air, ground, and logistics teams, and they can go in and control initially and set the conditions for this. And they can do other things on a minor basis, raids and embassy evacuations and those kind of things. But, so you have a small adaptable force, and that's why you have to be highly trained and be able to have the other person take over. Okay? But this is not new to American forces. This is part of how Americans train all services. If you go back and look at the D-Day landings and read what happened, those Army units went in and they lost people. You know, some sergeant was the company commander in the first 800 yards. So this is a product of the American way of war. It's not just the Marine Corps.
And is that what some of your consulting work has been about? When you go to other countries, you kind of explain the American way?
No, it was completely different. My consulting work was to help governments that were under duress to do things. And I went to some pretty incredible places to help do that. And I also went overseas to help the U.S. State Department. And we can talk about that later. But those are a little different problems.
Okay.
But most of the problems in the foreign governments are designed around governance issues and management issues at the senior level. And then, of course, that's the leadership is over the top of both of those things.
Okay.
And we in America take a lot of things for granted. Right?
For sure.
When we build a school, it's magic that the teachers show up and the library is full of books. But it isn't magic. It's because we have great school boards. Okay? What happens if you didn't have a school board and you built a school? What would happen?
Right, and just nothing would be there.
Right. So sometimes when overseas, you can see them doing something like building a road, but the Ministry of Transportation has no ability to repair the road. So within 4 years, it's potholes. So those are the kind of issues you have to. That's what I was looking at.
Hey, final question, Colonel, I had to ask you. What advice would you give to young people that are attempting to find their calling in life?
This is a great question. I just had a chance to talk to the commander of the recruiting station in Houston last Saturday at a luncheon. I just talked with a major about this very question. Okay. First of all, having been the commander of training organizations, I was the commanding officer of Officer Candidate School on 9/11. And I watched these young people come through, become young officers. There's nothing wrong with our young people, okay? As long as they join an organization that maintains its core values and maintains their standards. If you do that, young people will come. And they will do magnificent. There's nothing wrong with that. And we have the right people to train them, I'll tell you that. We'll put them through some training and they'll be ready to go. So I'm not worried about that. But the young people today, and I've got 5 kids and 4 grandkids. Okay. The young people today have to understand that they have to have passion for something. Okay. You have to be part of something bigger than yourself. And it's hard to find that. And the military is an opportunity where you can be part of something bigger than yourself. So that's the number one thing that you feel. Mm-hmm. And that's what these people, the young people, need to feel. But at the same time, they can feel that passion in doing other things. It's okay. Okay? Not everybody's meant to be a Marine or a soldier or an airman or a sailor or a guardian in the Space Force.
But you feel we all have to agree that we have to believe in something bigger than ourselves.
We have to be part of something, because in the end, your satisfaction is not about just making money. Okay? You got to look at this as you really got 2 salaries. Okay? You got your physical salary you live on, and you can chase that. And then you have your psychological salary. Mm-hmm. Combined, that's your income. Your income is not just what you make; it's the psychological income. You can make a lot of money and be unhappy. And this is part of the passion piece. Okay? If you join the Marine Corps, you're not going to get rich, but you'll have a high psychological income. So your total income, your psychological salary, so your total income is pretty good because you feel good about what you're doing. Okay? The same thing happens when people go into the church or they work with youth people. And the youth of America, and they try to make them better, youth programs or volunteers at shelters and so forth. They're getting something out of that, okay? And America needs all that. But we need the other part too. So my advice is try different things If you get an education, you got more options,
Right.
right? So education provides options for young people. This is very, very important. And so you want to get an education. You want to work hard and find your passion. Try different things, okay? And you'll get there. Sometimes you will not replicate the passion you as a retired Marine. I can't replicate that. But I can bring passion to what I'm doing. And that's how I succeeded in the corporate side. But it's very important to be part of something bigger than you.
Thank you. Colonel, what contributions are you making today, currently, right now, that you're really excited about?
Well, there's a couple. I have been associated with the youth program, National Youth Program, the Young Marines. It was founded in 1959, and it's for kids 8 through high school graduation. I'm the chairman of the board of the national level, and I have been the chairman since 2014. And we have just over 225 units in 42 states. We have 19 units in Texas, as an example, and the most of any state. California, number 2. But it's a youth development program for leadership and to matriculate these kids through. And we use Marine Corps leadership traits and principles. The program was founded by 2 staff NCOs, Korean War veterans in 1959 in Waterbury, Connecticut. And since then, it's many tens of thousands of young kids have gone through this program. I'm very proud of that, and I think this program is it's growing, and it's going to continue to grow, and it's going to make a difference. They have to earn everything. It's merit based. We get nothing away, and it's for patriotism as well. We teach them about their veterans. We have contacts with the VFW, the American Legion. The Marine Corps League, of course, supports us, and it's a big program. The second program that is just underway, and we're just forming it up, it's called the American History Project. And we just formed it up in July. I got elected to be the chairman of the board, and what we're doing is we're taking veterans and their families and to the different battlefields, to include battlefields overseas. In fact, we have a trip right now scheduled that we're trying to finish up scheduling to Vietnam in November, in late November. But we go to Normandy and other places. Plus we go to the American battlefields, Revolutionary and Civil War. And we also set up an educational program for kids. And it's part of our charitable work to spread the word of American history. And this was founded by Colonel Warren Weedham, who is 96 years old. He's still living. And Colonel Warren Weedham is a Marine. He fought in the Chosin Reservoir in Korea. And he's been doing these history tours to help veterans. So he's closing his organization, and we're standing up this new nonprofit corporation.
No problem.
And it's brand new. And I was just on the phone this morning with the executive director about this upcoming trip. So we're really excited about it. So those are 2 things that are going on right now, in addition to my normal work with my children and my grandkids, of course. You know, I have all that going on, and my family here. So I think that's important. I want to say one thing about these kids. I get a chance to see these kids, and I get to see the 16 to 17-year-olds, and when they're graduating from our program, and America's in good hands. There's nothing. We're okay. You hear all this, I deal with these kids. There's nothing wrong with our kids. It's our institutions need to improve, set the standard, and hold it there, and we'll be fine. Okay. Core values matter. So.
Well, thank you guys for your time today, and Colonel, I want to thank you for your time today. I just wanted to know if there's anything you would like to plug, let people know, just put it out there. We'd be happy to promote it.
Well, thank you very much. I think if people have questions about the Young Marines Youth Program, go to youngmarines.org, and you will find our website and pictures of our young people that are going through training and education, and I think you will enjoy the website and the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Colonel. And what I want to just say to everyone out there is I know I've gotten a lot of questions from you guys about just feeling lost and not sure what to do. So I just want to hope that watching this, you're going to learn something from the Colonel and understand that there's always hope. You can learn something. And if you have questions, you shoot it to us. And if you're trying to reach the Colonel, we'll put that in the description below. But we just want to thank you guys for watching and enjoy.